I came back the third day, and I told her that we were going to get a divorce. She cried, pleaded, and begged me. She told me that she would tell me everything, and after that, if I still wanted to divorce her, I should go ahead, and she would give me an amicable divorce. She said that the reason why she never told me that she was a bottle girl was because she had a bad experience that changed her life forever and traumatized her. She didn't want to bring back the bad memories. I wouldn't get into details, but the way she explained it was that some guys were celebrating something and paid a lot of money for a secluded private section, and after booked an after party with DJ and bottle girls at some rented mansion. They paid the bottle girls a lot of money to attend, and she did. Long story short, she thought somebody did something to her drink, and she woke up feeling sore the next day. A month after the assault, she missed her period, so she went and removed it. Unfortunately, she became ill following the procedure, which was caused by an infection in her reproductive system that caused her to be infertile. I was shocked by this news and didn't know how to react. My wife was sobbing on the couch with her head down. I couldn't just walk away after hearing a tragic story from someone I love. So I went to the couch to comfort her. Then we talked about our relationship and life. And here's the weird part. We had the best and most connective conversation we've ever had. We talked about things we would never have talked about before and caught up on so many past neglected conversations. Our past relationship, grievance, my need for a big family. We made some big life-changing decisions. That night, we agreed to find a surrogate mother to carry our baby. It was absolutely unreal and cathartic. She promised to stop spending so much money because she felt like it was a coping mechanism. We debated about activities that she could do for distraction. I thought she was looking for an outlet for the trauma. She wanted to start working at a new job, but she didn't want to work in education, and I agreed to that. It was refreshing, renewed, and the mental and emotional connection felt like it was on the verge of being better than it has ever been before. Fast forward about 6 months later, she got a new job at an advertising agency. After she confided in me about her assault 6 months earlier, I sympathized with her and I told her that I would be there for her. But in reality, I was growing distance from her because I didn't feel like she was the person that I got married to. I wanted a big family and a stay-at-home wife to take care of my kids. Instead, what I got was a shopaholic barren wife that was also shopping around for a surrogate mother. And now she's working a 9-to-5 job for trauma support, which income we don't even need. I contributed nothing to the household. The new house is almost paid for, and the only bills are utilities and credit card bills that she racked up. Her income is not even enough to pay the monthly credit card bills that she racked up. I only accepted that she can get a job so she can use that as a coping mechanism and not spend all day shopping and spending my money. The money she makes is worthless and contribute nothing to the household, but makes her happy to go to work every morning. So I guess that's a plus as well. I was getting used to this reality. The company was a small and family-owned, and most of the employees are males. Her title was the Executive Administrative Assistant to the President of the company. At 28, she was still very attractive, and I saw why she easily got the job. She was excited about it, and always tells me how much she was well received. And there are not many females there, so not a lot of drama. The comment about her being one of few women gave me no comfort. I knew how it goes on those kinds of work environments, with my wife being one of few women that works for an advertising agency in a male-dominated workplace. It reminds me of the TV show Mad Men. I didn't want to appear jealous by telling her how I really felt, but it bothered me. 1 month after she started working there, I noticed that she started dressing provocatively. I thought it was out of line and confronted her about it. She claimed that it was just how it is in that industry, and how I shouldn't worry about men flirting with her because they knew she was married. I felt like she was too dedicated to her job. About 2 months into her new job, she began taking it too seriously. She would cancel dinner plans, delay movie plans that were made weeks ago, so she could accommodate a manager or two. The worst part is that they weren't even her bosses, almost like she was trying to please everyone at my expense. Based on what she told me at the time, her boss didn't demand much from her, except for organizing his schedule and answering his phones. The managers would call her during off-work hours, like when we are having dinner together, when we are watching TV, when we are in the middle of a conversation. I draw the line one time when I was trying to make a move on her on the couch, and her phone rang. She told me to hold on for a sec and tried to answer her phone. I immediately lost my cool. I stood up from the bed, angrily threw the remote control across the room, and I told her that she would quit her job the next day. I stood up and walked out of the bedroom. She followed behind me, apologizing, making excuses about some big project that they are working on. I told her that I don't care about her projects and that her job adds no value to our relationship. She apologized to me, saying that it wouldn't happen again, but I ignored her and went to bed. The following day, I gave her the silent treatment, but it didn't last for long. I noticed that the calls reduced drastically, and she would ignore her phone in my presence when it rings, only to run off later and call them back. The strange part is that she never answers her phone calls near me. She would step away with the phone to speak to them. So I don't know who she was really speaking with or what they are talking about. One day, we were watching TV together, and she was going through her phone pictures. We were sitting on the same couch with her phone turned away from me, but I could see the reflection of her phone on the living room glass center table, like a mirror image of her screen. As she swiped through her picture library, I could make out her pictures from her phone on the living room center table. I saw what seemed to be a couple of slides that I was sure were pictures of her fully unclothed. I didn't immediately bring that to her attention because I was still shocked, collecting my thoughts, wondering why my wife would take those kinds of pictures of herself. She never sent me anything like that, so why would she have that on her phone? I couldn't sleep that night. I wanted to gain access to her phone, to see her pictures and text messages. Her phone was unlocked, but I was tech savvy enough to break into it the following day while she was asleep. I was in disbelief at what I saw. I found out that she has been sending bikini photos and flirtatious text messages to one of the managers at her job. I woke her up while she was asleep and confronted her. I didn't give her a chance to lie, as I was yelling and badgering her at the top of my lungs like a madman in the middle of the night. She admitted to sending the bikini photos, but was adamant that it was as far as it went. I told her that I didn't believe her, and I kicked her out of our home, telling her to go and stay with the manager that she has been exchanging flirtatious texts with. If she would have called the cops, I would have probably been the one that would be kicked out of our home because I was acting like a maniac. But I took her by surprise, and she feared me enough not to want to spend the rest of the night. She has never seen me so upset. She drove to her friend's house to spend the night. The following day, we spoke on the phone when I was calm, and her excuse for sending the bikini photos was because I wasn't paying her enough attention, and I have been distant since she finally confided in me about the abuse and her inability to have children. I knew she was partly correct because I have been struggling. My interest in the marriage was not as before. She claimed it was because she missed the attention from me, that it was not an ongoing thing, and that nothing else happened, including anything physical. I am honestly not sure what to believe though. I will admit that I have been more distant than I should have, and could have been more emotionally supportive, mostly due to the conception issues, trauma, and general life stressors. But I felt like she lied to me by not telling me about not being able to have children before we got married. She has a history of being a poor communicator and bottling up feelings, so in that way, I am unsurprised it silently escalated. I have no clue if I can forgive this, and if I did, how would I ever trust again? In playing the situation back in my head, she became more attentive, probably a few weeks ago, and I wonder if that's when it really started, or maybe that was a cry for attention. I still have a lot of text messages that I need to go through, but so far, most of them are business related. Only few are flirtatious, no obvious signs of affair. If they were having an affair, then she did a good job by not texting anything that would show any obvious sign of infidelity, except for the pictures. Maybe it was just a momentarily slip up, enough for her to claim that it was just a one-time thing, and he has been pressuring her, which was why she fell for it. She said she made a mistake because he was begging her for explicit photos. She was staying at her friend's house. I thought this was my opportunity to separate myself from all the lies, manipulation, and drama. However, after a meeting with her, she begged me to take her back, and once again, I fell for her tears. I wanted her to quit her job and a complete transparency on all her devices and social media. She gave me all her social media accounts and her cell phone password. She wanted to stay at her job because she claimed that it was a coping mechanism. She said that she made a lot of friends there, and what happened was just a momentary lapse in judgment. She said the picture were just bikini photos, same as the one on her Instagram. She mentions that even her cousins have bikini photos, so are her friends on her Instagram. She made it seem like I was overreacting, and why should she quit her job over what everybody else does and what was already public. She said that it wasn't like she sent completely nude pictures. I told her that the difference is that she singled out this guy and sent it to him. At the end, she admitted that it was wrong to send it to this guy. Moreover, this individual doesn't work in her department and she can decide not to work with him any longer. It was a small company, and she had a lot of freedom in terms of who she wanted to work with. The other man is another manager in his early 40s. He's married with kids. He's currently on his second marriage. It was a small advertising firm. I could email the owner, but at the time, I felt like I would be taking things too far because it was just a bikini photo with no proof of an affair, no real way to contact the other spouse unless I researched the public information. I felt like I needed some time away from her, so I allowed her to come home and pack her things, and she left for her friend's house. I found the other spouse on Facebook, but I'm hesitant as I didn't feel like a bikini photo is enough to blow up somebody's marriage. The punishment should be on my wife for sending it. As I asked her for a timeline of when things really started, she played dumb and doesn't know when they started flirting. She said they started talking about the problems he was having with his second wife and how she was treating his small kids from his previous marriage badly. One time he brought his kids to work because his second wife refused to babysit them, and he didn't have time to hire a babysitter, so he brought the 2 kids to work. Since my wife loves kids, she had a soft spot for the kids, and that was how she became close with him, and they started texting. I don't know if I buy the story after all the lies she told me in the past, but it seemed to check out. Again, biggest hesitation on blowing up the other spouse was that I thought it was just maybe an emotional affair, and the man used the fact that my wife had a soft spot for kids because she couldn't have one of her own. She is the administrative assistant to the president of the company, and he is the creative director. During the 3 weeks of separation from my wife, we were still on speaking terms. We spoke on the phone and met up a couple of times for lunch. Moreover, I have access to her phone and all her social media, and it appears that she was no longer responding to the other man. So we decided to reconcile and allow her to move back in. Despite that, I still didn't trust her, but I couldn't prove it at the time. She moved back in the middle of the week, and we had sex for the first time in almost 2 months. During our first intimate session after so long, I noticed that something else that raised my suspicion even more. Me and my wife have been taking breaks between intimacy before, but this was the longest we have gone without being intimate, and I was used to her body reacting a certain way. I know my wife's body, and her body was not responding like she have gone long without intimacy. I felt like she must have recently had excess, maybe a few days ago. She doesn't pleasure herself, so I knew she had been intimate with another person. She wasn't telling me the true story about the other man or somebody else. 2 days later, I couldn't still put my thought to rest. I hired a private investigator to follow her and to see if there was anything suspicious. But after 2 weeks, we weren't making any progress. From the private investigator, I found out that my wife sometimes went to lunch with a group of guys, not including, however, the other man she sent a bikini picture to, and they normally go to public places. Nothing suspicious. After 2 weeks, I called off the private investigator because he couldn't find anything suspicious. I was ready to give up and focus on my wife and life when I decided to perform one last act. I hacked her work email account and server. She brings her work laptop home and uses her work email often, and her employer had a private server. I know it's illegal to do this, but I had to do it for peace of mind. It was a small company, and the network security is a joke. On the home front, me and my wife have been having excess regularly. She has been on her best behavior ever since she came back. She does chores that I don't like to do and go out of her way to make me happy. It even got to the point where she made me feel like the worst husband for not trusting her, and I felt like I overreacted to begin with. But my guts was telling me that something was off. So let's just say that I installed a software to monitor her work email traffic and retrieve deleted emails from network server on her work computer. For obvious reasons, I wouldn't go into detail on how it was done, but I downloaded all her deleted email. Took a couple of days to filter through the messages. I went to work the day I finally gained access to all the current and deleted files and messages. I was so excited and anxious and couldn't wait to go through and see what my wife has been up to at work. I started going through her email and messages. I was horrified to find out that the bikini photos she sent to one of her co-workers was just the tip of the iceberg. I had her work emails, dating back from when she started working there. I found out that she has been living a double life. She was not only having an affair with one work colleague, but 2 work colleagues. The one that I already know of, and another one. They would communicate mostly with instant messages on their work email. It appeared that both knew that she was flirting with them. It seems to me that her workplace was a cesspool. I saw instant messages of her flirting with 2 of the men. She seemed to enjoy being the center of attention in the office. She liked the attention she was getting from all the men in her office. I saw various kinds of dirty photos, some taken in our home, and some at work. One when I was upstairs, not feeling great, before a family event. She would go to the women's bathroom at work and take shockingly explicit pictures, exposing herself, top and bottom. When she returned to her desk from the bathroom, she would send it through the instant messenger to the two men. The men would swoon over her pictures like a bunch of high school kids. It was pathetic. Looking by her email and the instant messages, she hardly did anything at work other than flirt and send explicit pictures. I couldn't believe that grown men in their 40s would act like this. I would later find out that one of the men is on his second marriage and the other one has been married for 11 years. I wonder what their wife would think about it when I expose them. This is the end of part 2. Please click the thumbnail on the left-hand side of the screen to take you to part 3. Thank you, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't.